My kids still can't believe we only had 2 TV stations. We didn't have air conditioning. We didn't have microwave ovens. And a lot of those things, people today think that those are necessities, not wants. Those are priorities and necessities that they need. You've got to look at your situation and prioritize things in the area of spending your money, and it happens. I just read an article this week. It was about a family in Elkhart, Indiana, and they were getting ready for their daughter's prom. And I might be stepping on some toes here, but it said that the average prom, the average person spent almost $700 on a prom. $700. And his couple, she lost her job, and so they got I'm not going to go through all the items, but they were able to get this daughter's prom dress and her shoes and that for under $200. And I should have that article in here. But to quote her, she said if she had a job and she's making more money, then she would have to spend more money and give her daughter a new dress. And I just thought, would she really have to do that? Do we have to do those type of things? And again, it comes down to the wants and needs that we have. Giving a couple scriptures to back up one of the points I'm trying to make, and then I'll end. Thomas asked me right before I got up, he said, "Are you going to preach as long as Mr. Mayberry does?" I said, "I don't know. We'll see." So, understand your reaction. The prodigal son. That's found in Luke, the 15th chapter, verses 11 through 32. And I'll just highlight a couple of the points there. The gentleman in question here, hugging his son, had 2 sons. And one son came to him and said, "I want my inheritance, and I want it now." He didn't need it, but he wanted it. And it's an interesting story, and we could banter around whether the father should have given him his inheritance or not, but the fact is he did give it to him. He went to the big city, he spent it whining and dining and catting around, and he blew it all. And he ended up eating the pig slop with the pigs, and then it dawned on him that he could go home and work for his dad, get 3 meals a day, and a comfortable place to sleep at night. So he decided to go home, and hoping to beg his dad to take him back. And his dad was overcome with joy and was glad to take his son in. Thanks, Thomas. It's interesting, he said, "Father, I have sinned against God and against you. I am no longer fit to be your son." Now, I'm wondering, was he a sinner because he squandered the money? Was he a sinner because of the lifestyle that he lived? Or was it both? Food for thought. The next one is the parable of the talents. We went over this in Bible class, but I'll summarize it real briefly. It's in Matthew 25, 14 through 30. A rich guy gave 5 talents to one of his servants. He gave 2 to another. And he gave 1 to the third. The first one with the 5 talents took the 5 talents and went out and made 10 talents. He doubled the money. And when he came back and told his boss, he praised him and said, "I'm going to give you more responsibility." The gentleman or the servant with the 2 talents doubled it into 4. He praised him in very similar fashion and gave him more responsibility. The third one, he took the talent or the coin and went and dug a hole and buried it. And when the ruler, it was time for him to go to his boss, he gave him back his coin and says, I put it in the ground because I knew you were a stern master, and I was afraid of losing it. And the boss, or the ruler, was not very happy with this gentleman. In fact, he referred to him as a bad and lazy servant on verse 26, and in 30, he called him a useless servant. And what we talked about in class holds true now. Is the question is it our money or is it God's money? And in our view, we agree that it's God's money. And if it's God's money, we need to use it prudently and wisely. And there's used to be where these chains that said, "What would Jesus do?" And it really should be our theme is, what would Jesus do when we get our paycheck? What would he do in prioritizing and knowing what to spend money on and what to save? In 1 Timothy 6:10, the verse says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not money itself, it's the love of money. When we put money in front and make it our God, that's when we get in trouble. What is money? As you know, or may not know, I'm a financial advisor. I deal with people every day with money. And money is a tool. It's used to transfer and exchange goods, and it can either make our life comfortable or it can make our lives miserable. And we could talk about, or I could talk about capital gains and 401ks and dividends and interest income and all those complicated things. But in real simple terms, you make this much money, you spend this much money. You make this much money, you spend this much money. The general theme is, whatever you make, you save 20%, or you spend 80% of what you make. You save 20%. And it goes back to wants and needs. And a number of my clients are retired, so I work with them on managing what they've already accumulated and making their retirement comfortable. But for what we call the accumulators, those that are trying to get there, we sit down and discuss what their goals and objectives are. And in a lot of cases, you've got to make decisions. What's more important is being able to retire at a comfortable age, or educating the kids. Is that more important than going out to eat, or to have a membership at the country club, or go on a vacation? Maybe we need to drive the Chevy for another 4 or 5 years instead of trading it in and buying a new Toyota. The average person trades a car in every 3.5 years. And the auto experts predict that that's going to change now with the economy that we're in, because people are going to keep their vehicles longer. But again, it all comes back to wants and needs. And I started the sermon, or my little talk here, talking about Genesis, the 41st chapter, and in verse 34, part of the solution on when Pharaoh found out that there was going to be 7 good years and 7 bad years was to take a fifth. Joseph said, what you need to do, Pharaoh, is appoint a commissioner and take a fifth of the harvest and store it, so that when we do have the 7 bad years, we'll be prepared to get through those years. And it's interesting, I mentioned earlier that the general guideline is you should save 20% of what you earn, and it was Joseph told him that you need to take 20% of the harvest and save it for the famine, or what we would call a rainy day. Okay, I appreciate your attention, and I'm going to wrap this up real quick with being good stewards. And I think as Christians, we need to be good stewards with what God has blessed us with. And I'll wrap it up with, summarize what I'm trying to say, is we need to learn to live within our means. You really need to think twice. If the old school used to be, if you couldn't pay cash for an item, you didn't buy it, you did without it. And I kind of agree with that. You should try to pay cash for what you can and don't have debt. But if you're going to have debt, you're going to agree to buy something on. I remember taking Andrea to the car dealer. She wanted to buy a whatever she's got now, Ford Escape. And before I co-signed with her on it, I said, now you realize that you got to make this payment for the next 5 years. That's 60 months. When you sign on that dotted line on a loan, you're obligated to make those payments. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So as Christians, we got that obligation. If you've got debt, you need to pay your debts. She still wanted the car. I only had to sign for it to get it. But could she have kept the old car that she had? I think she could have. It's those debatable items, but it all goes down to wants and needs, and those are personal decisions that you need to make. But I do firmly believe that God wants us to be good students. Thank you for your attention. As tradition goes, we always provide an opportunity to allow you to come forward if you need prayers of the congregation, or if you would like to be baptized into the church. The Savior has a song.